Joan is Awful is the best Black Mirror episode in a long time. If you haven't seen it yet, you follow Joan, played by Annie Murphy, who has a TV show about their life get put out on Netflix. I mean Streamberry. After this happens, she basically goes crazy, eventually shitting in a church. After this, Joan and Salma Hayek, which is crazy, break into Streamberry's office, shutting down the computer that generated the series. What we find out in the room from Michael Cera is that this is a quantum computer, which means it's generating shows inside shows inside shows inside shows. But what we've been watching the whole time wasn't the original one, or the quote-unquote source material. It was the second show, with the first one set outside in the real world. But as we've seen throughout, the show just follows what the last one did, up until the original one. So, in the end, even though destroying the computer would destroy them, they didn't have a choice, because the original world has already done it. The twist. Obviously I have to talk about it. The entire time you're led to believe that Joan is real, and yes, in her original universe she is, but when I found that out, it sent shockwaves through my body. I don't even know how to describe it. Michael Cera gave a great line.
This is not called Salma Hayek gets everything explained to her but doesn't understand it still. It's called Joan is Awful.
But even with this crazy line, we were just explained this is only Salma Hayek in this universe. Back in our timeline, the original one, this is actually Annie Murphy. Slightly weird to wrap your head around, but it makes sense. Then it just goes down the line, replacing actor after actor after actor. The comedy. Not every day do you see a Black Mirror episode that's consistently as funny as this one is. Almost every scene had some sort of joke or little gag in it. The TV show being dramatized as a whole was pretty funny. Not for Joan though. The performances. Everyone was great in this episode, which isn't new to Black Mirror, so I won't talk about it that much, but Annie Murphy was spectacular, and everyone else was great too. The plot. This one is going to start to lean into the bad, but I'll wait till I'm there to talk about it. This idea is so intriguing. It's like a futuristic Truman Show with Black Mirror infused everywhere. It's a great idea, and if you couldn't tell, I love what they did with it. The plot holes. Overall, just as like a blanket statement, this is not how terms of service agreements work. So I can see if that's all you're thinking about, especially in the lawyer scenes, this episode may not have worked as well. Other plot holes are, if Joan couldn't stop the X-Wing because she's being written as the Joan before her, wouldn't she have figured this out sooner? Or at least questioned it? I get that they see themselves as real, so why would they think this? Or why would they question what they're doing as a person? But it's a thought that got stuck in my mind, and maybe it makes sense. Let me know, I guess. The start. The first about 10 to 15 minutes of this episode are not the greatest. I don't think it's bad, but as I watched I thought to myself, this is kinda boring. Which, with most other Black Mirror episodes, it gets into it right away. Leaning on the good side, I feel that's what makes this episode different. It feels so real just for it to all get ripped away from you in the end. Honestly, there's not much more bad to say, and I feel like I have a million more good things to say. I mean, this episode just blew me away. It's insane how Black Mirror always is able to do something different and unique even when you think you know how it's gonna play out. It's kind of amazing, honestly. I've yet to watch the next episodes, but you can be sure I'll cover them. Eventually doing a season 6 ranking, and if you want a complete ranking? Anyway, let me know what you think. Do you agree with me? Disagree? Who knows?